We are live.
Nice.
We're live.
I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't see the YouTube.
I'll tell you what it's like. Well, it's a square box. No, I don't know.
We are live. Oh, look at that.
We're
You can
live.
hear us now. There's a nice
don't wanna-
echo.
Let me see if that's me.
No, it was me. I started the page without muting it. It's muted now. Steve Murky, welcome to the chat. Ryan Edwards. Nitropolis. Mr. Peabody. Hey, gang. Say something to us in the chat so we know you're alive. This is awesome.
Are you? Hey, chatters. Chitty chatters.
Did you just call our chatters shitty?
Ryan, chitty. It's a reference to Chitty Bang Bang, which I hear is
yeah.
terrible, but
Oh, it's not bad. That's a good
you like
movie.
it?
Yeah. I think it's good. I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Exactly. That's what I'm afraid of.
That's,
That's what I'm afraid of.
There's a lot of things that I thought were cool when I was a kid, and then and later in life, you're like, ooh, blinders.
okay.
Everybody got their places?
I think I do.
I'm good.
I'm posting about the show now and the book.
Sweet.
It's awesome.
I just,
One thing that does stay good after your childhood, Wonder Woman. Always good.
oh, did you watch it?
No, I actually have tickets to go to a theater where it's these weird pod things that you're like enclosed in. So I'm excited.
Interesting. And that's all in the name of COVID?
No, it's like this luxury theater, and so when you buy your seats, it blocks out the seats all around you. So
Interesting.
it's like 15 people in there. I think I'll be fine.
Nice.
Of course, we'll mask up and fun stuff.
Yeah.
There's a fair bit of booze back here. Nitropolis just commented. It's 1970 here. That's when the bar was built.
Mm. I like that barrel that you have on that one mantle. That little baby barrel. Yeah.
So that's a kind of cool bourbon my mom got for me. It's like made all with corn harvested in like Missouri. It's all distilled in one distillery, and you can only buy it in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Made in Missouri, sold in Connecticut only.
Well, it's like harvested in Missouri,
Oh, I see.
made somewhere else, and then sold in Connecticut. Something like that. There's some like weird thing about it that she, when she got it for me, she's like, and this you can only do,
I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. A bourbon shell.
As mentioned earlier before the show started, I am drinking water, but infused with watermelon vodka. So,
That's the good bourbon. It wasn't even.
yeah. My goodness.
I have to put this down here. There's like a
Let's see.
whole, like if you tilt down, like the funny thing is, like it's,
Oh my.
and then
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
our listeners, it's just Brian embracing his alcoholism.
it is, I drink so much.
Yes. It's. I mean, that is sort of the party area, though, right? So.
This is, yeah. So I'm down in the bar right now. We've got a Warlords, the Food Fight, a couple of pinballs, the Super Checks, which is going to be replaced soon. I'm going to be
Aw.
swapping Super Checks out for a Alvin G soccer.
Oh, great. Will Super Checks go on location?
I don't know. I really remember that. We were talking about things that we loved as kids and didn't when we got older. Super Checks is one of those games. Like I loved it as a kid. I liked it a couple of times I played it when I was older, and then it's like, it gets boring.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I haven't played it. I don't really have a childhood memory for that for some reason.
I got in so much trouble picking this one up too. It was $700 though.
It sounds like a bargain.
We were down visiting Susan's friends. I'm like, I gotta go.
Man, I just missed a Robotron that Coin-Op had. I was just too slow. I guess I was doing my job, work, and I missed it, so it's very sad.
What? How much do they sell it for?
I think it was like $1,400, which is pretty decent.
I had a really funny Robotron story here I can tell quickly since we're in the opening. So this guy locally had a Burger Time, and he wanted a Robotron, so he put up a trade. I had 2 Robotrons and a Burger Time. So I wrote him, I said, yeah, sure, I'll trade you. And I show up. The Burger Time's in great shape. Robotron's in pretty good shape. We do the swap, and he starts kind of laughing, whatever. He's like chuckling to himself, and I don't say anything. And after like a couple of times chuckling to himself, he's like, aren't you going to ask me what's up? And I'm like, okay, what's up? He goes, I just got a Robotron for $150. I'm like, okay. He's like, I bought that Burger Time for $150. I traded to you. I have a Robotron for $150. I'm like, that's pretty good. He's like, what? That's not really good. I'm like, well, it's not as good as getting a Burger Time for $50.
So you're up.
Europe. That's a great band.
But how many hits, really? 2, maybe?
1.
3?
No,
Just
they had one. Is it Carrie? Is that the song?
Yeah, Carrie.
They had.
Final Countdown. Cherokee is a great song.
Oh. Man, there's some of those that they just don't play again. Sometimes you'll get deep cuts on 80s on 8, but
that's pretty rare. And sometimes, and their version of a deep cut sometimes isn't even it's not a deep cut.
We should get Murky's band to come up and do like a concert in the backyard here.
Yeah.
But we're through COVID.
Does he need a socially distance-based guitar player? Because I'm in.
Well, let's get the show rolling.
Oh, all right, you got it.
All right.
Live from KOYR Studios in Minneapolis, Minnesota, this is Arcade Radio.
And I ain't sure.
Where I live. Run. You survived.
Yes, we did. This is season 5, episode 5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Today's Thursday, December 17th, 20. It's not December 17th. Am I reading from the right show?
No.
I'm not.
No. You're not?
It's the Back to the Cade segment, just 1 week instead of 30 years.
This is season 5, episode 5 of the Arcade Radio podcast. Today is Thursday, today's Wednesday. This is so jacked
damn
up.
it. That's what it is.
We're done.
Yep. Peace out. Merry Christmas.
Go easy on the juice, man. Easy on the juice.
This is vodka in here, straight vodka.
Yeah, for those of you wondering, Adam's not actually drinking. He's just doing this all on his own.
all on his own. All as an,
Contact high.
Yep. It's a contact high. Thanks for listening in on the Arcadosphere. This is season 5, episode 5 of the Arcade Radio podcast. Today is Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020, and the time is now approximately 7. The show's over. I'm your host, Adam America. F yeah. I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Nobody's Home Yet Shields, and Paradise Arcade Shop proprietor and Starcade co-owner, Brian Thurston Howell Armitage III. Joining us tonight as we invite back, join us tonight. Boy, these are just laden with typos tonight. Mark, were you drinking
Yes.
And usually, usually I'm pretty good. Like I'll just skate over things, and it's phenomenal every night. It's just a fun
I should
thing
proofread. Is that what I should?
No, it's interesting because usually I don't stumble. I just read whatever's in there with very minor, like that, and I just keep going. But tonight I just can't do it. So Howard Scott Warshaw will be on the show later, 8:00. He joins us. So thanks for listening in tonight. And of course he's got that new book out. So that should be fun to talk to him about. What have you been working on, Mark?
Let's see. Okay. I dug out all of the stuff that I've been shoving across the side of the room so I could film my Back to the Future fan remake thing, which, by the way, went live on Saturday finally. It's got about 3,000 views. I do have to film some Back to the Future 3 things, but not yet. And anyway, so in celebration, I took down a green screen, cleaned up the room, pulled out the Miss Pat Cabaret. I mean, not cabaret, cocktail.
Oh.
And noticed the bit kit hadn't been updated for a year. So I updated my bit kit, installed a certain special game, played it, smiled a lot. It was very fun.
Was it just crazy?
It's so weird, if you know what I'm saying, when it's walking.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. Everybody figured that one out. Let's see. I rearranged my Discs of Tron environmental so that I can open my front door again. This was a week of bringing things out.
Your Discs of Tron now opens your front door, or you're able to open your front door?
Yes, it was I had some games blocking the front door. We hadn't opened it since I got the thing, and so now it hasn't been open for so long. The dogs didn't even recognize it as a door anymore. We opened it up and we were telling the dogs, "Come on back in," and then they kept running past us to where the other doors are. And so it took them a while to figure out, this is a hole that I can get into the house. And so that was nice.
That's good.
Yes, I think that's about it. I need to fix my Pong or my pergola, so please pray for me.
All you dumb Italians, get off my lawn.
It's raining, so it's probably going to be the Pong.
So, what I've been working on, not a whole lot. I have the week off, so I've been sleeping in. No, I haven't. I've been getting up, doing stuff, cleaning the house. I actually can wade through my living room now without incident, so that's good. I found some ColecoVision stuff that I kind of shot pictures over to Mark.
I want it.
Yeah, so I'm going to send you a roller controller with Slither.
Oh man, so awesome.
Slither and a ColecoVision that has component, and I think the composite still works on that, so you should be able to just use it normally. The component adapter is not great. I'll send you another component adapter if you want to change it out. It's the same brand, but the first one didn't work great. It was the first time I'd ever soldered anything like that. So anyway, I'm talking it up, but the switch works because I replaced the switch on it.
Yeah, it's industrial looking.
Oh, yours is different. It's similar, but I think it's.
Oh, I see.
I think the switch is blue on yours. So, and the other thing, the ColecoVision did not have a power light. So you turn it on and you just have to depend on the TV telling you that it was working. So, what if it doesn't come on? Then is it getting power?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Is it getting warm after half an hour?
So I did add a power light to mine.
I like it.
Yeah, it's like 12 volts.
You had to find 12 volts somewhere, or?
Yeah, it's a 12 and 5 volt switching power supply, so you just got to tap into the 12 volts inside.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Does anything in the game run off 12 volts?
I don't know. Maybe it's just 5. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while.
I could see the power supply having both. Just kind of a funny,
It's a big wall wart, too. It's so heavy. I don't know why they made them so big.
That's what she said. Anyway, I think they just didn't want to put it in the console, which would have been much smarter, I think. But maybe they considered them failure prone, maybe? Well,
you can buy a different one, too, that works better and modify it. But it's a pretty standard deal, I guess. Anyway, we're working on my payphone. I have this, Western Electric Fortress Chrome payphone that does not have a key. And I used a scope. And I went inside and I looked around and I had to find the serial number on the lock, which was quite challenging because there's only 2 small holes that you can get a camera through. And then you got to snake it down by the lock, which was a miracle that I even found the number, but I found it. So I'm having a key made for that. And then I have a buddy who also has a lock and key for it that he discovered today. So he's going to stop by on Tuesday if I don't get my key by then. So one way or another, I'm getting in that phone.
Nice. And you have the T key, right?
Yep, I have the T key, and I bought a separate lower lock for the vault, and I got a vault coin box, a brand new one, to go in there. So it's almost ready to be used. I have the wall mount and everything. I just have to find a place because I already have a payphone in the house, and so
Right.
I don't know if I'm gonna have 2 payphones.
In the basement, right?
It's in the basement right now. Yeah.
Put it on in your library.
Yeah, in the library.
Where did the
Yeah.
library go?
Put it on the front porch.
Well, yeah, and then I have the phone booth in the garage, so at some point that's gonna have to end up having like an old 1960s phone in it. So
Nice.
yeah, Brian, what have you been working on?
Well, a couple things. I got back to Minnesota today, so I got to see my Interstellar in person, and it is gorgeous. It's so pretty. It's got the Japanese square button for the start, 224mm Famitsu buttons on the control panel. The control panel is screen printed, and it's immaculate. So I'm super excited about getting that going. I've got to pull one of the Dexters that I was going to use for something else out and hope that he does a Dexter for like Super Don Quixote or something else that I got to get going. But the Interstellar is like too awesome not to work on it. Also showed up in the shop was my Blasted cabinet, which is pretty cool. So
Blasted.
Plug that in, and to no surprise, it does not work.
Aw.
But we'll fix that.
It would be cool is if you put Blasted, Blasteroids, and Blaster all right next to each other.
I don't have Blasteroids, but I do have a Blast. It's funny because out of the 3 of those games, the one that's easy to find is the Blasteroid.
Right.
Wasn't Blaster the last coin-up game from Atari Games?
Wasn't what?
Or Williams? Who made Blaster? Williams?
Williams.
Wasn't that their last coin-up?
I don't know.
I want to say it was their last coin-up video game. Somebody should tell us in the chat.
Should check that out. I don't think so because the Turkey Shoot and Joust 2 PCBs are like the next generation after Blaster.
Really?
That is true.
Yeah.
The other thing I've been doing is getting the stuff that freaks Adam out, which is actually kind of fun. I'm going to show it off because it's just fun to show. But Susan's been buying this like glassware products. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen uranium glass or Vaseline glass, but it looks kind of green and then it glows. So these are actually radioactive, which is kind of neat.
That's not neat. That's dangerous.
But they will set off a Geiger counter. So anyways, we've got a couple pieces. But I've been having some fun with that.
You should not be buying that stuff. You're going to get sick.
So I said I was going to send like one of these to Adam. So
No.
Bury it under his bed or something.
But he's going to like sit there and like not want to be near it.
Yeah, it is weird. I have this fascination with looking at things that glow. So I would be like torn. I'd be like, this is so pretty. It's killing me. It's so pretty. It's killing me.
And there was and I did I finally got to see my 2 Defenders.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
So Adam convinced Shane to call me and sell me the Defender Cocktail and the Defender Upright. And so they're both sitting in the trailer still. They need I haven't even tried plugging them in. I don't think they were working. I do have working Defender board sets, so I've got a lot of projects this week while I'm home.
Yeah.
Great. How long are you here?
I'm here for a week. I'm actually like in town for 7 days, although a good part of that 7 days should probably be spent with my family. And with this new snow, we have plans of making a sledding course in the woods in the back. I'm pretty excited about that.
For those of you who are not in Minnesota, it was 44 degrees today, and now it's going to drop to -6.
And we have a good 6 inches of snow on the ground right now.
Yeah, it started earlier than it was supposed to. They said 1 o'clock, and I think I saw it come in at 10:30. We were supposed to get freezing rain, and then it was awful.
I went and picked up a Tektronix scope today at Auction Masters, and what is normally a half-hour drive was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh my!
I
And
did all
coming
my shopping this morning. I got to Menards and went up to Champlin to pick up my BB9E robot. So, still
Take me to your leader.
Yeah, he's the little Death Star looking droid from the newest trilogy.
Yeah, they barely use that.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Mandalorian?
Of course.
Yep.
So
No
good.
spoilers.
It's
my
okay.
God.
You can spoil after Monday.
Yeah, but we might have listeners that haven't heard it yet.
Dang
so.
it, listeners! Clever.
In fact, I know we have listeners that
Earmuffs.
have not seen
Earmuffs.
it. Yeah.
All I'm going to say is I thought it was amazing how they pulled in the new characters.
You should just shut
Something
your
else?
mouth. Just shut
Something
your
else?
mouth. Just shut
and
your
made it
mouth.
all, like, just
You know-
fit in a way that was
Cohesive.
awesome.
You're
So
just
good.
like Lily. I'm not going to tell you anything, but the baby dies at the end.
Hey, what? No. That's what,
Jesus.
nah.
Eat some more eggs.
Yeah.
Man,
Chokes on one of those eggs.
those unborn children. Gross.
Mr. Peabody, yes, we did watch. I watched it through the credits, so there is a spoiler. So if you guys have not seen it yet, you've got to watch it all the way
All
to
the way.
like bitter end, because
Just,
it just gets better and better. Spock was awesome.
Yeah. He had on a bib. Yeah.
So we're going to skip the news this week.
Oh.
We are.
What about gadgets? Any gadgets?
Well, there was a couple. I mean, if you want to bring one up, Brian, we could do the
Have a
gadgets
cat.
section.
I just thought this was kind of cool.
I think we should
Leave
skip
it-
the gadgets section. We should just skip it.
I always thought stars at Atari was engineering.
So, you're an inventor.
Yes, I am.
What have you invented?
A lot of things.
Like?
Like a lot of things. Like things that you've heard of.
Like?
Well, things that you will have heard of, okay? Patents are pending.
Arcade Gadgets with Brian McLeod.
I love the chat right now. They're making up all this stuff that showed up in Mandalorian. But welcome to the gadget segment. We have a couple of things this week. Less technical gadgets, because they talked about one of the technical gadgets last week. But I will remind people that the multi-vector control panel CPO and marquee reissue is going on KLOV. So if you have a Synvectron, or you're picking up one of the new DVGs, which are pretty freaking cool, by Fred Konoposki. That's the new version of the Zector ZVG. And so it runs USB control for vector monitors. It's awesome. You should check it out. They are doing control panels for multi-games doing vectors. So you can do vector main. A reminder, Big Kid has Galaga. And a couple more gadgets. So one of the gadgets is kind of fun. And just kind of a silly thing, but these are actually licensed Namco candy launched in little Pac-Man cabinets, these little tins. They have like these like...
Those are like 5 years old.
No, this
They
is
are.
like a issue.
I
Actually-
have a bunch.
I do too.
I know this is a new one though.
I
Is
think we get.
Yes.
It doesn't look new. Looks the same as the one I have.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes.
I could go
The other
get them
thing-
right now. They're right over there.
You could go get it.
Go get it.
The funny thing is
Go get it.
those candies
get it.
don't ever go bad. They have like a half-life of 50 years.
They probably do.
Like
And
the
I-
gum that's in some of these things.
I would not eat any of the candy that's in that Pac-Man machine. But actually, Brian, you do make a point that originally came out with the wrong art on the outside, and that was like 8 or 9 years ago. And then they reissued it like 3 years ago, and apparently they just every once in a while
Reissued
come
it,
out with
yeah.
a
Yep.
either that or somebody digs it out of their back
They
cupboard
probably just found a stash of them in a dump
in a grave.
somewhere down in Texas. In a grave, a dump down in Texas.
Somebody
Like,
ate the candy
cartridges.
and they died,
Like,
and then
hey,
they.
look.
That's right. Stuff stays preserved down here. It's nice.
So,
Speaking of which,
the other-
what's the weather like right there?
Well, in Texas, it was 75 degrees today, but it's thunderstorming, so we're probably going to go down to like a 50.
Oh, jeez.
Probably going to be bad. Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It may go down to 40 or 45, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know what accent that was. I started to drift into Canadian
Yeah.
or something.
We're going down to...
And, Steve, I shined a black light at them. They didn't glow, so I figure they're not radioactive.
It's funny
the other
because...
thing that's out...
Yeah, go ahead. Are you done yet? Because I'm...
Ready Player 2.
Oh, yeah, Ready Player 2.
Yes.
We mentioned that before, didn't we?
No, I think we kind of...
Yeah, we did last week. We talked
November
about it last week.
24th At launch.
Yeah.
So, and there was a Sega Princess board set. Have you guys ever played this game?
Yeah.
One of the games featured in the film went for sale on KLOB.
Princess?
Went quick. We missed it. We're going for it for Starcade. And finally, Oculus 2 has launched. And that's one of the things that's been harder to get around the holidays. It's a independent VR, doesn't require computer-based. Everything's loaded on there. Tyler was running around with the Oculus One, but that's about it. That's it for gadgets.
Excellent. Excellent.
Excellent. Great work. Oh.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
Back to the cave with Time Runner.
Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Hey, welcome to Back to the Cave. Adam, I have a musical key for you to play.
I know.
Yes. Hopefully, there won't be a commercial. There it is. Similar to the video game, Nick Arcade primarily took Nickelodeon's highly successful Double Dare model and gave it a video game thing. My wife quotes this as being her jam at the time. Contestants played a series of custom video games in order to advance to the prize round, the video zone. And once there, cameras and monitors are used to put players in the game, aka the green screen, having them physically race through different stages before time ran out. Viewers watch as the players random maneuvered around obstacles in front of a digitally created video game backdrop. Sounds awesome. What's funny about this is it lasted half a season, and then they reran it for 4 years.
They reran it?
For 4 years. It must have been so good.
A half a season.
People were like, wait, have I seen this one before? I don't know which guy watched Nickelodeon. I'm just now imitating. It's not my wife. Back then it would have been, it's my jam.
Aren't your wives gone right now?
Yeah, they're out. They're at a party. Wait, did we talk about that on the air? I don't remember now.
No, we didn't.
We didn't, yeah. So I have dogs with me. They're all three chilling right here. We've got Bruce Wayne. We have Barry Allen and Damian Wayne.
I have Marty blocking the door, so the dog's sitting outside whining because she can't make it past the cat.
Bruce is coughing, but it's gonna be all right. Hey, what's in the juke?
What? You caught me off guard there. This is
What's in the juke?
Hey, welcome to Season 5 edition of What's in the Juke. It's the game within a podcast. Today we will be playing theme songs from random 1980s television commercials. If you can guess the name of the product, you will receive. Yes. If you and by the way, this is not going to happen much. But if you recognize a celebrity spokesperson and can guess who that is, you will also receive
half point.
If you can guess both the product name and the celebrity spokesperson's name,
full point.
That's right. If you don't know, fight. Now that the is over, let us begin.
All right, here comes your first track.
The fun is back. Oh, yes, siree. It's
something.
It's the video system with classics galore. From Space Invaders to cars that roar. A real hit joystick controls the screen. Solaris is hot and Midnight Magic's mean. And one more thing, it's got a special low price. Under $50. $50? Now, isn't that nice? The fun is back. Oh, yes, siree. It's the something.
That's funny because this is late in the game for this product. Probably late 80s. I'm guessing 88 or 89.
Can you believe it? $50?
Yeah, because they were just trying, and it was probably the junior model. Oh,
So these 80s commercials are censored by Bob Zarzadek, so that you will not hear the product name, or even words that are in the commercial that are part of the product name, which will also be removed.
S1500 with Atari 2600 VCS.
Great job.
I think it was the junior, wasn't it?
The Atari Junior, or the
the Atari 2600 Junior. That's what it's commonly known as because it's smaller, and it was probably the $50 price point. So. Abe Vigoda.
Negative. He had a beautiful singing voice, though. So great job, Doug Jones.
All right, here comes your next track.
No little
something
freshens breath longer than
something.
So kiss a little longer, laugh a little longer, stay close a little longer with
something.
Freshness has right through it. Your fresh breath goes on and on. While you chew it, say goodbye a little longer. Make it last a little longer. Give your breath long-lasting freshness with something.
This is my favorite episode of What's in the Juke ever.
S1500 gets it again.
Whoa, good job.
The Doublemint, yeah.
You know, it's funny. There is a Doublemint commercial, and it's sung by Richard Marx.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Before he hit it big.
Chris Grant, crack cocaine.
All right, here comes your next that was funnier than hell. Okay.
Why buy just a video game from Atari or any television? Invest in the wonder computer of the 1980s for under $300. But
something.
unlike games, it has a real computer keyboard. With a
something.
The whole family can learn computing at home. Plays great games, too. Under $300.
Wow.
The wonder computer of the 1980s.
Something.
Coming soon.
From something.
Brings you Gork, the Wonder arcade game, and Omega Race in home versions.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. I think that people might get who this is. So.
No little
something.
Freshens breath.
So it's interesting. Brad Holman got Commodore and S1500 got VIC-20. So I'm going to give them each a half point. But S1500 also got the spokesman, William Shatner.
Full point.
Are you going to make it, Brian? He's got COVID.
It only gets better than this.
I got the vaccine.
William Shatner.
Well, there's proof that it doesn't work.
That may have been our only celebrity spokesperson, by the way. So. Oh, no, there's one more.
Okay, good.
He's Canadian, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's Jewish, too. Okay, next one.
The name of the game is
something.
Gotcha.
Something.
Cross. One more game.
Object, connect some of your checkers in a row while preventing your opponent from doing the same. But look out, your opponent can sneak up on you and win the game.
I won. Where? I can hear diagonally. Pretty sneaky, sis.
Something.
The vertical checkers game from Milton Bradley.
This is killing me.
Brad Holman got it. Connect 4. Nice.
Half point.
Awesome. That is so great. Okay, here comes your... This is going to be funny.
If you want to win the game, you got a good aim and get the most marbles with your something. Play it. Something. Something. Something.
This is the name of the game, and who's ever gets the most marbles wins.
Play it. Something.
I win.
Something.
From Hasbro.
I'm dying here.
Brad Holman again with Hungry Hippos. Good job, Brad.
Half point.
Yep. That's only 2 hours.
That's one of the few redemption games I really want.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh, because they made a new version of it.
Like a full-size version.
Yeah, and you can get tickets.
Yeah. Well, Dave has. Well, Billy 7 has one.
Oh my God. I'm crying. I look like I've been taking cocaine. All right.
No drink. There was some weight loss, wasn't there?
Yeah, I lost 9 pounds on cocaine.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Cocaine and no carbs.
2020.
Yeah, just, screw like low carbs and intermittent fasting. Just take cocaine.
Replace all the white sugar with white cocaine.
That's
You're
right.
good.
That's
The
what
70s commercial. Yeah.
That's what Brad Lutz did. He stopped eating sugar for a year and replaced it with cocaine.
This coffee tastes funny.
And I'm so wired. Wow. I could do anything. I could lift a truck. Okay, here
So
comes
good.
your
Work in 2020.
Here comes your next What's in the Juke commercial track.
Get your skis shined up, grab a stick. Something. The taste is gonna move ya. Take a sniff, pull it out. Smell it. The taste is gonna move ya when you pop it in your mouth. Something. It's gonna move ya. It juices soft, it gets right to ya. Something. The taste is gonna move ya.
Oh my God, Juicy Fruit is correct.
Half point.
Wow. Good job, Brad Ullman.
I like the Juicy Fruit with the banana logo. That was good, Eddie.
It's pretty good.
Hey, chatters, welcome to the show. Howard Scott Warshaw will be joining us in just a few minutes. We are playing What's in the Juke, commercial edition, and here is your next track.
Mom? I've got to ask you something real personal. Do you douche?
I sure do. But only with
Something.
vinegar and water.
Why
Something.
vinegar and water?
That's what my doctor recommends. For a naturally fresh feeling, only
Something.
has 2 vinegar and water douches. Pure, extra mild, and extra cleansing when you need it.
You'll see how clean and fresh
Something.
it makes you feel.
Something.
Trusted by more women than any other brand.
I can't breathe.
Andy Baldwin on the board with Massengill. Detropolis almost got it. I'm going to give him a half point, too. He put Manengo.
Half point. Half point.
The Mandalorian
Half
douche.
point.
Yeah.
Half point. Half point.
Wow. Man, we're doing this all the time.
I can't take it anymore. Here comes your next track.
Give me something and nothing to do. Give me the sunshine. Give me something. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and smooth, refreshing. Something. Give me a river. Give me something. Give me my good friends. Give me something. Give me the sunshine. Give me something. Yeah.
Big finish. Big finish. Oh, that was great.
Half point.
S1500 comes in with half a point.
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew.
Yes, the mountain. It
It's
doesn't taste
interesting.
like Mountain Dew.
The
though,
delay
you
is
know?
a little shorter tonight. I think it's only like 4 seconds.
It's incredible.
That's incredible. Is that in here? No, that's a TV
No.
show. All right. Okay, here comes another one. Are you sure this is who? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the beer commercial with Kim Basinger?
No, but I'll check that out.
It's beer shampoo. Yeah, you got to look it up. It's hilarious.
Oh.
It's from the 70s. But okay.
Okay.
Here comes your next commercial.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. My hair used to be a joke. Dry, split ends. Then I discovered
Something.
this pro-vitamin formula that actually strengthens your hair from inside. It's incredible.
Nice.
Even with everything I put my hair through, it looks so healthy, strong, shiny. Listen, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
Something.
Serious care for beautiful hair.
You'll see.
That's pretty funny.
That's going to be a tough one.
Tampax.
The Tropolis got Kelly LeBrock. That is actually
nice.
correct.
You get a half point for that.
Half point.
I was gonna give a hint. That's chips, dips, chains, whips. You know, your everyday teenage party. It's not Vidal Sassoon. It's not Massengill. Pro V. It is. Should we give it to him?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh,
Andy
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
Popped
Nice.
it out of his butt.
I hope
Half point.
I hope not. I've heard that surgeons have had to find lots of things, including shampoo bottles and doorknobs and people's
Oh no.
Toothbrushes.
toothbrushes. There you go.
You know, that's funny. My uncle posted something that the new vaccine injects a like a tracking device into you, and then I told him in a reply, I'm like, "Hey, Uncle Bunny, that's his name. The only good place for a tracking device is up your butt." Anyway, yeah, let's move on.
My boss was going to walk in and ask him if they could give the vaccine in his butt.
Oh God.
And we were like bribing him to like drop trow. And then when they say, no, it's in your shoulder, just sit down.
With the trow down.
I really hope Howard Scott Warshaw joins us right now as we're talking about this.
Oh no.
Speaking of which,
professionals.
I see something in the chat. Nope, nothing in the chat. All right, you guys, he should be joining us any second. Let's do the next track. Okay, here you go.
Don't give me that soda, the same old cola. I wanna
Something.
I wanna taste pizzazz, all the great taste.
Something.
I wanna pop, I wanna
something.
I wanna thrill, I wanna wow, taste it all I wanna know. I wanna pop, I wanna
something. That's awesome. It is Shasta. Yo, Eddie.
Yeah, good job.
Half
Yo,
point.
Eddie.
Yo, Eddie. That was not anybody famous. All right, here's your next one.
No.
Something.
beautiful drink.
Something.
For beautiful people.
Something.
You're beautiful to me. Real cola tastes just 1 calorie.
Something.
What a beautiful drink.
Something.
For beautiful people.
Something.
It's beautiful to be so good and sugar-free.
Something. Yeah.
Big Finish.
That was. I'm sorry. What?
Andy Baldwin.
Andy Baldwin with tab.
Nice.
I can't give you a tab unless you
Half
order
point.
something.
Then I'll take a Pepsi free.
You're gonna get a Pepsi pal. You're gonna pay for it.
The marketing, is very blatant in that film if you're looking for it.
Oh yeah, they got some money.
Lots of Pepsi.
Yes.
All right, here comes your last track.
Hey, what you eating? A neat candy bar. Boy, is it crispy. Sounds good. It smells peanutty. What do you call it?
Something. Something.
That's right. What's right? The name. What name?
Something.
You forgot the name.
Something.
The totally different crunchy bar of peanutty tasting crisp drenched in chocolate.
Something.
From Hershey, you can ask for it by name.
Can I have some of that? Some of what?
Oh, Brad
Half
Holman
point.
got it.
All right, you're going to have to tally up the points and tell us who won.
Well, believe it or not, with that last one, by the way, that was a whatchamacallit bar. Brad Holman pulled out first place.
All right.
In second place, just burning right behind him, S1500. And in third, Andy Baldwin with 1.5 points. Honorable mention, Stu Metropolis and Yo Eddie. Thanks for playing. Who got the douche one? Do you remember that? We should have written that down, but oh well. Whoever won that one, you're gonna get a free douche in the mail. So just drop us your email.
That's funny.
You will arrive in a Ziploc bag, so watch out.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Metropolis, you can't want American candy when you've got Coffee Crisps up there.
I'm gonna mute you.
There's just nothing. There's Coffee
Sit there
Crisp.
eating on the show. Oh my God.
I am.
Whatchamacallit is one of my favorite candy bars. I thought it went away for a while, but it seems to be in low
and
production.
talking with his mouth full too. Whatever. Okay.
I don't know. It makes me hungry.
All right. Let's dial up this Warshaw fellow. See if he picks up.
All right.
He can join on his own, but we'll see.
I'll stop eating this amazing pizza sitting right next to me.
Pizza.
That's great. I ate before the show like a normal human being.
Yeah, I was stuck in a snowstorm.
I live here too. I'm stuck in it. Let's see if this guy answers his phone.
But you could eat fancy craft dinner.
Oh, he's unavailable. He must have put it. He's going to probably join us when he can.
All right.
What? Do you hear something?
I heard something that sounded like a crunchy whatchamacallit bar.
Oh yeah, crunchy whatchamacallit. Hey, have you tried your Omega race back there lately?
Yeah, why?
I was just wondering, did you check off that potentiometer to see if there's a dead spot when you turn the ship?
Okay, so wait, if I turn it like in a circle, and
360 degrees, it should stop moving for a little bit and then resume moving.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. All right. He's gonna play a little Omega race and see what's going on. Brian, what are you doing there? Your hands are giant.
Well, they are actually, but
oh,
you know what they say about a guy with big hands?
They have to wear big shoes.
Big gloves usually.
Yeah. What's on the back of your shirt, Mark?
Oh, so this is the game preserve, which is an arcade in Houston. There's a NASA location and then one up in the Woodlands.
NASA. The game preserve, which you might mistake for a place to go hunting.
Exactly, I know. I'm like, could you pick a name with the word arcade in it? But I get it. They were like, oh, it's so clever.
It's clever. Yeah.
Hey, you're right. There is a dead spot. That's weird, dude.
It's normal. But anyway, I have a kit that'll fix that for you.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a little optical board. Hey, there's a Mr. Howard Scott Warshaw joining us. Sir, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. Let's bring the video in for this guy so that people can see him.
Yeah, let me get my headphones set up here.
Real good. Real good. Take your time. Just have a little break in the show while Howard joins us.
How does trying to see where I control the speaker thing. Let me just check out my settings here. Ah, there we go.
Let's bring him in on the video. All right, let's see how this works.
Good.
There he is. There's the man. The man, the myth. Can't hear you. Something.
Can't hear me?
No. I think the microphone might have turned off or switched to a different device.
Okay, let's see.
So if you on your Skype.
How's that? Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, a little better. Yeah.
A little better or substantially better? I hope.
Well, it was better without it.
How's that?
Still the same. If you on your Skype, on the bottom, you can choose the audio device.
That's what I want to do. Oh, here we go.
Yep. There's like 3 dots and then.
All communication. Oh, here, let me. Okay, how's that?
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Oh, beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I had to take it off of the headset then.
All right,
cool.
So
thank you.
For the folks in the audience, I'm going to introduce this fellow, and we'll get the interview going right away here. So. Please welcome to the show Atari's raucous, rambunctious resident Raconteur, now arcade radio returnee, reuniting with the regulars. That's Howard Scott Warshaw. Welcome to the show.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Great to be back.
We had this little alliteration noodling going back and forth in email this week, and Howard and I came up with that sentence. I think it's pretty good. I know.
I'm liking it.
And I think it's very accurate.
I think it's descriptive.
Yeah. So how you been? Are you staying healthy?
I am healthy so far, thank you. I hope you're all the same.
Yeah, we're doing good.
You guys are all doing well. I'm very happy. As you know, the book came out.
Yes, the book.
I'm
yes,
super psyched that this book finally came out. This was literally years in the making.
All right.
2 years of research, 2 years of solid writing. It was about a 4-year project. And if I would have known it was a 4-year project when I started it, we might not be talking about a book right now.
Oh.
The book happens to be the same name as your documentary, Once Upon Atari.
Yeah, but it's got the tag.
Yes. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, so the book is Once Upon Atari, How I Made History by Killing an Industry. and it is it's an interesting foray into my life. It's a memoir, it turns out. I was thinking it was autobiographical, but I was wrong. It turns out it's a memoir. It turns out there's a difference between a memoir and an autobiography, and so that was one of the many things I learned while writing this book. But it is a memoir of my experiences of Atari and how Atari has reverberated throughout my life. But wait, that's not all you get.
Oh.
This book is also an examination of creative production and what it's like in an intense, high-pressure creative environment where you need to produce entertaining results, something there is really no spec for, it turns out. It is also an examination of the ugly politics that can occur within a corporation, particularly when big success shows up and everybody wants to figure out who's responsible for that. And then when big failures show up and we figure out who isn't responsible for that. Those things go on. And it's also an exploration and hopefully a humanization of nerd culture at large, because nerds are a big focus of this book. And so I like to talk about that. I have notes, special notes to nerds. I have special notes to non-nerds. I have notes to all kinds of people. I even have notes to note readers along the way, because I make sure everybody's clear about who I'm talking to when I'm talking. And right now, I'm talking with you.
Well, and I'm looking at this here. It is labeled as the #1 new release in biographies of scientists on Amazon.
Nice.
So congratulations.
Well, I'm loving that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank, the people who are out there ordering this book, making that happen. I super appreciate that. Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, the book is available on Amazon in paperback and as an ebook. It's also available on Apple Books, at Barnes & Noble. It's just available in a lot of different places.
I bought the Kindle version the day it was announced. So thank you. I'm a third of the way through after a couple of days. It's a fascinating read. I'm entertaining, to say the least. Of course, you were on the show for our season finale last year, and it was, and we were just thrilled. We were tickled to have you on the show because you're a larger than life personality. We, entertaining, and the entertainment translates perfectly to the page. So kudos to your writing style.
Thank you.
Really enjoying it.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. I just want to say it's an honor to be here tickling you once again.
Yes. Wait.
Someone take the feather away. So we, I love the fact that the narrative starts with the desert, and you keep that theme consistent throughout the book. Maybe tell us why you chose that narrative.
Well, it's an interesting thing because when I thought about this, when I first thought about writing a book, I was just going to write a book about Atari, and then the dig was such an important thing. I thought it'd be hard to leave that out. And then I started to draw the line between Atari and the dig in my life. Mm-hmm. And then I realized one way to look at a capsule for this book is that it's the story of a day that was the product of a month that shaped my entire life, right? Because, there was the month that I actually did E.T., which is technically 5 weeks. But it's all summed up in that one day in Alamogordo. And so I think it seemed appropriate to me to open and close the book Alamogordo. That's where it starts and that's where it finishes. And you'll see bits of Alamogordo. It keeps coming back to Alamogordo here and there because, being in a sandstorm in a dump in the desert is an interesting place to be in general. And to be there with hundreds of other people who should have something better to do than hang out in a sandstorm in the desert. That was an amazing day. But that day, the way I put it right up early in the book was that, that was April 26th, 2014. It was the longest day of my life. I think of that as the longest day of my life because that day started July 27th, 1982. So that's a long day. People always say, I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day. Well, how about 30 years? There's a day. I did that, and then there was, I'm sorry, but the idea is that it's a very non-linear kind of narrative. There are like 3 separate things going on in the book. There's the E.T. project, there's my whole Atari career and the rest of my career life, and there's the dig at Alamogordo. And I keep using one to jump to the other, to jump to another, to jump to another, because it was very important to me. I don't do things in a linear fashion. That's just not how I operate. So I don't write that way. And I like non-linear narratives, so I did it.
And it works really well. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was, and you've intimated about this on the show before and in other interviews, but and just moments ago when you were describing the book, but the corporate culture in particular, and what was going on at Atari at the time. This is a very blatant look at poor business decisions and understanding how Atari went to a very dark place. And what were your feelings like when you were sort of rediscovering that from your memories and mind?
It was interesting. It's a really interesting thing because, going through it, was so sucked right into the whole vortex myself that I didn't really see a lot of what was obviously happening all around me.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was, man, this is an amazing gravy train. Please don't derail me. That was basically where I was. But now I look back because a lot of that was burned into my memory. I mean, I carry a lot of stuff from my experience at Atari simply because it was so intense. People say, how do you remember details of your life? What did I have for breakfast, 5 days ago? I don't know. I don't eat that consistently to be able to remember something like that. But extraordinary experiences really tend to dominate our memory. And Atari was absolutely an incredibly extraordinary experience. And so a lot of the things that happened there stuck with me. And now as I look back on them, I think about how I was. I remember some of how I felt back then. And I look back on it now with not only some objectivity, but training as a psychotherapist. And I realized, wow, this was a very sick environment in a lot of ways. Thank God.
And I felt like that when I was reading the book. I felt like you were rediscovering parts of your feelings at the time. When you were describing things, it was almost like, yes, these things happened, but it just like you said, you almost didn't realize it was happening. And so this book helped you kind of put a narrative on it.
Absolutely. And it is a narrative. And one of the reasons it took so long to write is because this is my 4th book, but all of my other books took a lot less time to write, but they're more straightforward how-tos or just compilations of other things I've written. This is the first time I sat down to just do a full-on narrative. And the point you make is really a good one, I think. And I'm really glad that came through, is the idea that I'm trying to write this from 2 perspectives, at least 2. Okay, one of them is I'm writing it as I'm going through it. So I'm trying to have a real presence as to who I was then and report that as it's going.
Yeah.
But I can't resist commenting on it based on who I am now at the same time occasionally. So I try to make it clear which voice I'm in, but the voice shifts here and there as I go through the narrative, and hopefully it just works or it's appropriate to the time. It isn't your average narrative, I think.
It's funny because one of the things that comes up in my professional life sometimes is people asking, why are surgeons so dysfunctional in some ways? And when you go back and look at the environment that they developed in. Like when you go back and look at it, you're like, it's not a question of like, why are they dysfunctional? The question is, how do you become functional in that environment? Like what part of that environment actually creates a functional outcome? It's made to produce people who can do surgery well, but it's not made to produce functional members of society.
Right. And Atari was like that too. There's a thing where Todd says it was an amazing environment, Todd Fry, by the way. And he says, but it was not the basis for a healthy human life. And that's certainly true. There are some things that we do as humans that we endeavor upon that the goal is not just pure, healthy, living organisms. The goal is to produce something else. And sometimes we veer really out of the healthy zone to be able to get there. And for some people, that's aberrant and a horror show and don't want to have anything to do it. And for some people, that is irresistible. And the people who did well at Atari were the people who totally dug it and stood up and said, give me more. This is exactly where I want to be. And I think your example is an excellent one with surgeons. People who are optimized for cutting open other people and mucking around in their innards and fixing them up and then just sewing them up and having lunch, that's not your average individual.
No, there's nothing normal about it. You think about what goes on in kind of a high pressured game environment, going through the story of like how ET came about, there's nothing normal about that. Going off, meeting with Spielberg, throwing this game together in 5 weeks. You have these environments that like, there really is no normal function of life. You're outside of the bounds of where real world kind of applies.
Yeah, well, one of the things I would say, my therapist self would look at that and say, well, dysfunctional environments favor dysfunctional people, right? Functional environments favor functional people. Dysfunctional environments favor dysfunctional people. And Atari was a very dysfunctional environment. And the people who really emerged, the people who really succeeded there were pretty dysfunctional, a lot of them. I don't think I'm going out on a big limb there.
Interesting. Hey, so in the course of writing this book, I'm curious about the cutting room floor. Is there anything that did not make it into the book?
Practically everything did not make it into the book. It's like being facetious. I'm not being entirely facetious when I tell you that this book is, it's a little over 300 pages, the final book. I have another 200 pages of material that I did not use. Things that, at one point, I had the file up to about 470 pages and something like 150,000 words or more, 160,000 words. The final delivery is about 108,000, 109,000, somewhere around there, and it's about, a little over 300 pages. But there was a lot of things. As I'm writing, I really had to make the tough decisions about, this sounds so cool. I think this is a fun thing. I really like this, but it's not working. So the aspect that I used was I would start reading through it, and I would wait until I got to the point where I said, holy crap, where the hell am I? What am I doing here? And anytime I said that to myself, I went back and edited and said, no, obviously I've lost the narrative thread. Because I do jump around in time, I jump around in location, I jump around in who I am at the moment throughout the book. And so to try and make that work, I had to be pretty aggressive about not just introducing just stray storylines that are interesting, and I think they're relevant, but I think they distract it. And another way to understand this is I'm not a particularly linear thinker, and so every thought that I have generates, 4 or 5 different ones in different directions. And as I'm writing, I start one thing and I think, okay, I've got these 4 other ideas. I want to incorporate them all in the next sentence. And how am I going to do that? How am I going to work that? And at some point I have to say, I'm not. That's not going to work. So I have to decide which ones are in and which ones are out. And then you start exploring one idea. And then after you're talking about that for a while, now I want to go back to the other ideas, but now I'm losing the narrative thread of where I was going. These are the kind of decisions that took 2 years maybe to resolve.
So in like a year, we're going to see a director's cut version. The extra 200 pages.
We could, but I would call it more of a director's laceration.
In the book, funny. There's a quote that kind of goes along with what you're talking about, and you say you have a moment where you're talking about your parents and being in the living room, and you say you'd yell, "Watch this," and they'd say, "Wait for the commercials." And a reasonable response, except for one thing, you loved watching commercials. They were compact stories that fit your limited attention span, which is kind of true. I mean, it's basically the whole book is based on that quote.
I think that's a really true thing. You can see how I keep shifting and jumping and going over, but then I find things I'm interested in. I want to dive into those. And that's why it was tough to make sure I didn't want this to just be chaos, because I'm writing a book about a chaotic period in my life. But I don't want the story to be chaotic. And so, it's an interesting question. How do you impose order on chaos in a way that still reveals the chaos? And that's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
I found it tricky. Might be easier for other people.
Well, there's a couple of, the great thing about having it on Kindle is you can highlight. So I've highlighted a bunch of short, quotes and passages that I, might bring up during our talk here, but I asked you to see if you would possibly read a paragraph or a passage from your book for us. And I don't know if you had time to do that or if you would be willing to do that with us now.
I would absolutely be willing to do that with you now. How much time do you want to take? Because I have a section that I think would be interesting.
Yeah, go ahead. I will say that. So go ahead.
There's a place where there's a chapter called A Nerd World Country. And the idea of that is I'm trying to get into nerd culture and explain it to non-nerds, what's going on in the programmer's brain. Because a lot of people have this impression that programmers are people who can't communicate, don't talk to other people, and they don't really understand it. And I don't really think that's not my understanding of programmers, and that's not my understanding of myself as a programmer. So I'm going to give some examples of what it's like being inside the head of a programmer to understand the difference. And so there's one part, so I call it programmer brain. Programmer brain is this place that people who program get stuck sometimes, but it's also the way they go. And it's about systems engineers. And because systems engineers are people who analyze systems to determine their capabilities and limitations. Then they figure out how best to achieve goals within those systems. And that's something that all human beings do. We're all systems engineers. It's just that most of us don't do it explicitly with specialized language. So here's an example that I give. I say, whereas a systems engineer might wake up one morning and say, I've discovered a bug in my setup procedure last night, resulting in current circumstance outside the range of acceptable outcomes. To recover to a nominal situation, I must derive and execute an optimal or near optimal strategy for transporting myself from my present location to a pre-designated alternate location in minimal time. This strategy must assimilate and accommodate the current state of all relevant environmental parameters. Whereas the average normal person would go, oh my God, I forgot to set the alarm last night. I better haul ass to work. Oh shit, traffic. It's the same thing. It's the same situation and the same reaction, but there's different language and a lot more of it in the case of the engineer. And so I go on to discuss how what it is engineers are about being very specific and clear in their communication. And they're a rapidly growing segment of the population, right? So they show up more frequently in our day-to-day lives, so it's probably a better idea to understand them a bit more for most people if you're going to deal with them okay. So then it goes on to talk about how, computer programming is a complex conceptual undertaking which happens entirely in the mind. And where else can engineers build working systems without building muscle mass? I mean, on the upside, workers' comp claims only come about from trying to move the keg. But on the downside, the lion's share of my effort is invisible to others. So programmers spend their lives trying to handle every possibility and doing so as efficiently as possible. Computer programs must handle all possible inputs, which means programmers spend their time trying to think up every perverse thing that could possibly happen, regardless of likelihood. This includes the absurd, the incongruous, and even the ones they don't know about or can't imagine. Every miss is a bug that may reflect poorly on the perception of their skills. This is where their heads live. Ever tried planning for unforeseen events? It can be very stressful. When your head lives in this place too long, it can lead to a phenomenon known as programmer brain. So when you only think in terms of exceptions, you can lose touch with ordinary happenings in the regular flow of life. Many programmers fall into this trap. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Wow.
But there is another segment that I do want to share with you.
All right, that sounds good too. That's actually really interesting because I think all three of us are engineers as well.
I'm a programmer,
systems engineer, and
okay. Then let me just give you this, if you don't mind. It'll take another 5 minutes or so. Is that okay?
Yeah, you take your time.
Because I talk about programmers also have an interesting relationship with rules, right? They both respect and can't stand rules. Specifically, they like sensible rules and will not tolerate nonsensical rules. Of course, nonsensical rules are defined as rules they don't like. They don't phrase it that way. They say the rules are outdated, illogical, contrary to stated policy, or just stupid. But once you translate the nerd speak, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So because they have such an intimate relationship with rules, programmers tend to relate to systems differently since systems are defined by rules. Programmers may view solutions differently and may enlist unusual approaches, not necessarily to innovate, but just for expediency at times. For example, there was the time several of my programmer friends decided to go to a movie. They further decided it would significantly enhance their movie-going experience to be drunk during the film, but there were no bars near the theater.
Yeah.
They didn't want to risk sneaking alcohol into the theater, and they didn't want to drive while drunk. What they did was drink several alcoholic beverages very quickly, then jump in the car and drive to the theater as fast as legally possible. Their plan was to arrive at the theater before actually becoming intoxicated. They found a way to achieve their objective without breaking any rules of the system. They were able to enjoy the movie buzzed, never drove drunk, and didn't sneak anything into the theater. So you might be thinking, big deal, that's not what I call a productive application of problem-solving skills. And you might be right. But it is an innovative approach that meets all the criteria and solves the problem. You may dispute the value of finding clever ways to be drunk in public places, but this is the same kind of thinking that leads to finding ways to make your car safer while reducing its cost, which, by the way, is another thing these same engineers do. Of course, they get paid to come up with innovations that provide real value to people, and no one was paying them to come up with the theater solution, but that's the point. Whether you pay them or not, this is what's going on inside their head all the time. Programmer brain is pervasive. There's no turning it off, and there's no putting it away.
Yeah.
Programmers are also optimizers. In addition to handling every possible input, they seek the most elegant solution. Toward this end, software people are constantly spouting, critiquing, and reforming ideas before settling on an approach. They're chasing the question, is this the best approach? Fun fact, The efficiency of a programming effort is typically measured by how nicely it solves the problem, not by how long it takes to create the solution. Planning time may be ignored entirely by a programmer, but not by their manager.
Oh, God.
Once a path is finally chosen, the second guessing and reworking begins. Warning. Doing this for extended periods may have side effects. The impact ranges from the comic to the tragic. My wife sums it up nicely with the cabinet story. For her, it was simple. Sweetheart, could you please move the office cabinet to the den? Absolutely. Done. 25 minutes later, she comes by the office. I'm striking a pensive pose, staring intently at the open but as yet unmoved cabinet. What are you doing? She asks. I'm thinking about the best way to do this. You take the books and games out, move the cabinet, then put them back in. That's the best way to do it. But where do I put them in the meantime? Should I move them? Should I take them out or move them later? Do we really need all this stuff? Maybe this is the time to dump some of it. Oh, and there's backgammon. We used to play backgammon. That was a lot of fun. Or maybe I can carry it without having to remove everything. What's the minimum stuff I can take out and still move the cabinet? Maybe we should get a hand cart. That'll save some time unloading and unloading. Save time? Seriously? It's been half an hour. You could have done it already. Look, that planning time is head. I'm trying to optimize here. So she disappears down the hallway, but her sigh of exasperation lingers. In moments like this, I'm glad she loves me. But this is what it looks like when programmer brain kicks in. It's a place where my approach to the task becomes more important than completing the task. Remind you of anyone you know? Programmer brain isn't just an occasional quirk. It's a full-on worldview and fundamental way of being. It becomes the system of analysis, for better or for worse. So there you go.
That's good. And it's I like you end it with for better or for worse. That's perfect for that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Always tongue in cheek.
Well, thank you for noticing that.
You know, there's little things like that throughout the entire book. I loved your struggle at Atari with Yar's Revenge, and you talked about that on the show last time, but I think you go into great depth. If you watched the original Once Upon Atari documentary, there's segments in it that appear in this book, but they are indeed the special edition versions of that. So like when you talk about Todd Fry crawling the walls, for example, we all know he got hurt, but this goes into all the details of how that occurred, the thought process behind him doing it, those sorts of things that are, I find, very insightful and entertaining. If you. Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good point to bring up too, is that the Once Upon Atari DVDs, the documentary series, there are some things from there that I do talk about in the book, but the book is really a very different experience and has a lot of different material from what's in the DVDs. For one thing, the DVDs really don't cover my experience at Atari much at all. It's mostly about everybody else at Atari. Yeah. I was just the director and producer. This book is about my experience and what went on and my life beyond it.
And I like, in particular, there's the piece where you got picked up by the limo after that. To me is gold, and so I'm not gonna. I don't want you to tell anybody. Don't spoil it. But you need to read the book to see. It's pretty fun, and I'm only a third of the way through, and it's very, very like I pick it up when I can. Today I was too busy to pick it up, but after the show I think I might read a few more chapters. I'm a slow book. I don't read fast at all. It takes me.
Too. I'm a very slow reader.
But that's part of the enjoyment. I think most people finished Ready Player One in a couple of days. That was a record-setting read for me. I think I read it in 6 days. But I wanted to bring that up because Ernest Cline did the foreword in your book.
Yes. Kind enough to do that. I really appreciated that.
And Nolan Bushnell also gave you an endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, this book has endorsements from Nolan Bushnell, Seamus Blakely, who's the father of the Xbox, the inventor of the Xbox. There's radio personalities, Brett Burkhardt from KGO Radio. There's Mike Micah, who's a video game maker and historian and an author himself. He wrote, and they wrote some amazing stuff about what I did. It's like I felt better about the book after I read what they had to say about it.
Yeah, yeah.
After I finished it.
You know,
But they were
often
very
I'll buy
kind.
something
Very
and
cool.
I won't continue to read it. This is one of those books where I feel like, I mean, I love Atari anyway, because I think part of the reason why there's such an allure with Atari is because it wasn't a perfect company, but it was the perfect company. So they invented a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of utilizing engineers, and giving them freedom. And you talk about that too, but there weren't rules in a lot of cases. You talked about there being rules, but there weren't a whole lot of rules. And I think there's a quote in there from Nolan Bushnell that talks about giving engineers, leeway. So can you expand on that whole sort of philosophy?
Well, what he talks about is the difference between rules and objectives. And the thing is that, so game programmers don't really have rules as to how you should perform your job, but they have clearly defined objectives, which is you need to produce a game in certain specs and fits in a certain, amount of memory space, and it's got to be fun. You got to make it fun. When you add fun to a technical spec, you drive a lot of people crazy. Because fun is a very difficult thing to spec. And that's why game programmers are an interesting breed, right? Because they're people who can deal with extremely tight technological specs and restrictions, and who still are broad enough and goofy enough, frankly, to come up with just wacky new stuff to do with it that can create fun. Because, a game program that isn't fun is worthless, no matter how great a technical production it is.
Yeah.
There's a quote to go along with that.
Nolan really got that.
There's a quote to go along with that in the book. It's just a small phrase, and you say, "Maximizing fun was always your goal."
Yeah. There's two kinds of people in the world. People who split the world into two kinds of people and people who don't, and I do. But, one way to look at two kinds of people is maximizers and minimizers. And that's one thing is, either people maximize potential or minimize risk. Maximize pleasure, minimize pain. There are different ways of approaching things. And I've always been a maximizer of pleasure. And because of that, I've suffered a lot of pain in my life, to tell you the truth. But I've also experienced a tremendous amount of real joy and pleasures too, and that's kind of what I've focused on.
And one other quote that I'll bring up that I think, one of the things that I really liked about the book is your insights in becoming a psychotherapist and understanding the human condition and human behavior, and just wanting to understand humans in general. And helping them understand themselves. But you insert these little insights once in a while that I think that are more valuable than maybe you even realized when you put them in the book, or maybe even more valuable than the reader may understand as they're reading them. And this particular quote I like because it just kind of spoke to me. There's kind of in a way that Dick Cavett spoke to you. You mentioned in the book, but here's the quote. Fate is simply where we run aground when we stop paddling on the river of life. If you want to change your fate in life, just start paddling. And I think that is really important. That's out of context and paraphrased, but I think that's a really important intimation in that we all struggle in life, and you kind of make your own fate. And so if you stop paddling, if you give up, you won't get anywhere. I mean, I thought about doing this show for, 2, 3, 4 years, and then I finally did it. And that's because I picked up the paddle again. And my point is, when you're reading the book, that's not the only insight. There's other little things that are throughout the book that I think are really great for people to so I appreciate that and your insights on life in general.
Well, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate hearing that. I mean, I did want to inject some of my therapeutic wisdom into the book and stuff, because these things occur to me as I'm writing along and stuff, and I like sharing that kind of stuff. But the idea that it came through that way is awesome. I practically got chills, you know. I really feel good about that. But it's nice to know that comes through. It's like, the Dick Cavett quote that you referred to, which is something that has shaped my life, is it's been an issue that I've faced a lot in my life, is sometimes like I like to try and think deeply and meaningfully about things. And I also like to come up with the funny, ironic insight about it as well. So I tell jokes at times, and people think that I'm not serious or I don't see things at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And when Dick Cavett was doing that show, and the quote, I just spilled the quote, he says, please don't mistake my levity for shallowness any more than I mistake your gravity for depth.
Right.
And I just thought, wow. Baby, that's my life philosophy.
That was a smackdown. I just loved that.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it really spoke to me, because I don't think being funny means you're missing something or you can't deal with something. I mean, there are people who can only be funny and really don't get the deeper meaning. But I think, in therapy, I use humor at times, hopefully appropriately, to lighten things, because sometimes things are just too tough. They're too heavy. But you can still engage things at a deep level and not lose sight of the humor, which I think is always present. I mean, the human condition is so absurd in so many ways. Yeah. I mean, we live our lives as if they make sense, and we do the most ridiculous things along the way. And I think it's a shame to lose sight of that. And just because we do ridiculous things doesn't mean we're ridiculous or not have value, or it doesn't reduce anything or diminish anything, in my opinion. But I think we lose a lot if we lose sight of the fact that we can enjoy the ridiculous and still be there for the sincere and the important.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because one of the things that always, speaking from kind of a personal perspective, is the operating room tends to be a place where a lot of jokes are told and a lot of very crass humor is shared. And it's not because there isn't a seriousness, but there's a certain balance of that serious aspect with some levity. And what's interesting is that the people who I've known who've been better in that environment are the ones who are able to switch, who are able to enjoy the environment, and then there's nope, now this stops. Here's the line, we've crossed it, we're on a serious side now. But we've often said that if families could hear what was said, they would think that we weren't respecting what was going on, when in reality it's just the environment. It's how it's dealt with. It's a part of, in a way, a coping mechanism, but also a way of handling the situation that's going on, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well said. And I think it's about balance, right? The thing is, someone who's stuck all the time in humor, or someone who's stuck all the time in severity or seriousness, well, those people don't have the kind of range you might need to deal with a variety of issues. When we have balance, we're capable of going in multiple directions, and then it's a question of having enough perception to know what's called for and what's appropriate. Like you say, we can go over here to lighten it, but when we need to be present and focused, we do that. And we're capable of both, though, and that's the balance that's important.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, though, is that there is that balance, but from what you've been saying about programmers, and I see this in kind of the environment I sit in a lot of the time, both as an engineer and as a surgeon, there's a lack of balance as well. It's like, because you have this ability to balance a certain dichotomy, you drive so hard in a direction and get so far out on a limb that most people wouldn't be able to get there. So you're like, you have this kind of delicate balance that allows you to go further out on this beam, maybe where you shouldn't be sometimes.
Maybe, and that's a really good point. But it is a lot about, figuring out where you can be, where it's appropriate to be, and what it's like. The thing is that, like a place like an Atari, where you're trying to do some extraordinary things, you want people who may wind up on the wrong side of the line occasionally, because you're trying to bust through the limitations that we've been dealing with. But it's one thing to try and maintain your balance all along the way. When you're trying to push farther through it and push through the boundaries, the sense of the word propriety can start to lose meaning at times. And when am I busting through in a way that's productive? And when am I just busting through for the sake of just tearing things up and making a mess? And is that productive? These are the kind of questions that I grapple with in the book, and we grappled with at Atari. I think they're interesting things to play with.
Yeah. And getting back to the beginning of the book, well, actually, it's kind of throughout, but there's one particular chapter, and I don't remember which one it is, maybe one of the more recent ones I've been reading, but it's about kind of how Yar's Revenge ended up being Ours Revenge. And you talked about that on the show last time. Mm-hmm. But there's so much more to it in the book. And one of the things that I thought was great, maybe you could expand on this, was you had so much input from your colleagues. And there's a great point in the book where you sort of discover that, yes, these are my colleagues. These are people that you're going to be working with, who became steadfast friends. But they also had to critique you. And in life, that's something that we don't do well with all the time, is critique. But in Atari, you had a collaborative approach to things. Tell us a little bit about that.
You're right. It is a kind of extraordinary thing. But I think the thing that really worked at Atari was there was enough for everyone. It really was a sense of abundance. And in that regard, we weren't competing with each other for a slice of a limited pie. So we could afford to be supportive of each other, and needed to be. Early on, it was great because it was a very cooperative environment, and there wasn't any hostility or any us and them kind of thing going on. We were just all trying to work together and put together a fun. As time evolved, there started to be some real contention between departments in the company. And when that happened, it sort of shifted from just a free collaborative thing to almost a bunker mentality, where these people who are my colleagues, we're living and dying together now. And it's a fight instead of just, a fun ride.
Sure.
And that was a different experience, but it intensified some of the relationships and the sense of closeness. But it was a collaborative thing, and accepting criticism from your peers. Constructive criticism is a great thing. We didn't have a lot of destructive criticism, and I think that made a big difference.
Yeah. More of like a band riffing on a song, like, wouldn't it be great if we did this here or did that there? So.
That's a great analogy, because it was like a jazz thing. Everybody could pop in, and we all played each other's games and just make comments here and there. It also wasn't like a court, where the game's on trial and here we go. Right. We were just always, looking at, seeing what's going on with, saying, oh, that's cool, how'd you do that? Or, oh, I wonder if this would work better, or what about this? And so it was like sort of a steady stream, and that made it more normal than to have a formal proceeding of, okay, we put my game up, and now everybody's going to tell me what's wrong with it or something. That feels that's a little rougher to take, I think.
What's it like? Did you have input for your book in the same way?
Really? For my book, I did interview a couple of people just to make sure I was getting their stories straight, or at least get permission to exaggerate them. But for the most part, I just wrote the book. I just put, my memories of what was out. What's interesting to me is that some of the things that are even documented, a lot of other people don't remember them, don't recall. These things were so emblazoned on my brain. And the idea that maybe it wasn't as intense for some of the other people, that was something I discovered during writing the book that I thought was weird. It was weird
funny.
That it was as intense for some other people.
I often, have memories that I bring up to my family that they have no idea that they're like, I can't believe you remember that, or I vaguely remember that. But like, you remember Todd Fry's lyrics from a song in a band that he wanted to create.
Yes, I do. That's because I recited them every, little while for like decades, because they're so memorable. And Todd, and I'm still friends with Todd. I still meet with Todd on a regular basis. Well, now we talk on the phone, but Todd and I get together on a regular basis. Rob Zadibble, Rob Fulop. These are people who I still really enjoy. Bob Smith, they're people I consider real friends, and I'm in touch with, and I really enjoy them. It was amazing to work with these people. It was just an amazing crew of people.
Yeah.
And it really has stood the test of time. And it's, I was always just really, I was honored to be accepted as a part of that crew. That was really important to me. I thought these people are so cool and they're such an interesting group. I would just love to be a part of this crew.
Yeah.
And to have gotten to that place just meant a tremendous amount to me.
That's awesome. And for those of you who don't know, Todd Fry is the inventor of Pac-Man for the Atari 2600. He's the writer. He's the writer for that game. So the programmer. And he actually had other titles that he did as well that were great. But he takes a lot of like you take flack for E.T. He took flack for even longer for Pac-Man, I think.
Well, I don't know if he took flack for longer. I don't know if anybody took flack longer than for E.T. But it was right in there. I mean, E.T. and Pac-Man were like the 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
And that killed the industry, according to some people. Of course, I talk all about that in the book and what really went on with the crash, what I feel are the actual motivators and the reasons for the crash from a variety of levels. I even tell some interesting Christmas stories about it too.
Yeah. It's great. I'm looking forward to the rest of the book. So I know you have a tight schedule tonight, and we have about 7 minutes to the top of the hour. I want to be respectful of that. How are you doing on time, Howard?
Thank you. I am gradually turning into a pumpkin, but I'm not fully ripe yet, but it's getting close.
All right, Mark, Brian, a couple other questions you wanted?
I don't. Well, it's funny. I asked my wife for this book, and I didn't really give. I said Howard Scott Warshaw. You should be able to find it. And so she went online and found a book called The Complete Therapist. No, she found the Book of Pan.
The Complete Book of Pan. Yeah.
Yes, and she's like, "This is really expensive," and I'm like, "It doesn't matter. We're gonna have him on, you know." And she's like, "Okay, but it's gonna take 4 weeks." And I'm like, she told me that before she left, and so I'm like, "What did you buy?" Yeah, I'm gonna have a vintage complete Book of Pan, which is the card you'll love for the rest of your life. Wow.
That's my first book about an obscure gambling card game. I only wrote that book as practice, so when I wrote Conquering College, it would be a better book. But I'll tell you, I could get you that book way below retail.
Let's see if we can cancel this.
Now you tell.
I want a copy of it. That's funny.
I think it's about a Disney movie, and I'm like, what?
It's not to be confused with the Complete Book of the Pan Flute.
Oh yes.
No.
Oh my God. Zamfir and the Pan. You got to get that commercial, Mark.
Zamfir, yeah. Man, I still remember those commercials.
We just did a whole What's in the Juke segment of commercials where the audience had to guess the commercial, and based on the theme or whoever was speaking. So it was a lot of fun. But we got to have Zamfir in the next one for sure.
Oh, totally. Master of the Pan Flute. Oh, I so remember that. Oh my God.
So is there one story that escaped that didn't really fit the narrative, kind of sat outside of things, but you wish you could just have people know? Is there one piece of something?
I'll tell you, some of the stories that I didn't put in the book, one genre of story that is not in the book is hot tub stories. And I do mention that we got the head of security who was Nixon's former head of security. So the level of paranoia around the company had increased substantially. And there was the fear that our offices were bugged and that people were actually trying to listen in to see what was going on. And that fear came because there was a programmer who was, the original chick magnet. This guy just drew women. It was unbelievable. And he was actually caught in the hot tub with one of the security guards. He was sort of having a good time with one of the a female security guard. And just want to clear that up. But he got some good information from that security guard at times that we all benefited from. That was kind of interesting. But he got caught in there once. There was another story that was a classic. There was one of the VPs was having a birthday, So they were throwing a birthday party sort of at the hot tub. So there were a lot of people in various stages of undress, and things started to get a little raucous. And so the VP decided he needed to get going, so he was going to start to leave, and nobody wanted to give him his clothes back. And then this little chase ensued. And so, and at the time, like, Atari was always outgrowing its facilities. So this was the hot tub was connected to the gym, and because they were out of conference rooms, there was a major meeting that happened to be going on in the gym. So suddenly this whole crew of people, all like half dressed and fairly wet, come popping out into the gym, and there's this high level meeting going on with all these execs. Wow, that was an amusing moment.
So the funny thing about being bugged is nowadays people would be worried that not that they were being surveilled, but that would be caught and put on like some website somewhere.
Exactly. No one then was worried about the video getting out or someone posting it on YouTube. So
Right.
it's a modern problem.
Back then, you couldn't hide the video camera. You'd know it was coming.
There was actually, when I was in residency, I spent some time at Tripler, which is the Army hospital, and there was a big scandal there that I won't get into, but the general that came out from Washington to investigate it wasn't a scandal that I was involved in. Said to one of the people, "Thank God there weren't camera phones when I was going through all of this, because we would have been out the second week."
Yep. That's the truth about a lot of things back in the day.
Good stuff, but I have got to roll. I'm sorry to say
No,
that, because I
that's
always
okay.
enjoy hanging out with you guys.
Well, we really appreciate you coming and talk about
sir.
the book. Everybody buy it. It's on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback form. Will there be a hardcover?
Not so far, but I am currently, I'm going to tell you, I'm working on an audiobook. I want to do an audiobook version.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but right now it's just paper and Kindle. Once Upon Atari, How I Made History by Killing an Industry. I really hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Howard.
you, sir.
We hope to have you on again soon.
Love to be here.
All right, see you soon.
Anytime, guys. Take care.
Take care. Be safe.
You
He's
too.
got-
Bye-bye.
He's got to hit find the hang up button.
disconnect button.
This
Where
is
is
the
that?
awkward moment where he hangs up.
Is that it? Is it the red button? Oh,
Yeah.
there he goes.
And he,
Okay.
good. And he left us
Did
a
it.
nice smirk. That's good.
What a great guy.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. That was fun to have him on again.
Yeah.
I think, audiobook where you had the option of like kind of a choose your own adventure type thing where you could say like, hey, let's listen to the little commentary here on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like there's just a huge amount of like, oh, by the way, let me tell you about this here.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, if he could just stream of consciousness, have like a narrative.
That story that he just told about the guy in the hot tub, if you watch Once Upon Atari, it's told by another guy who was actually in the hot tub, but he didn't give the same details that Howard gave. I think it's the guy.
It's better.
It's so good. You should watch that if you haven't watched it. The documentary is so awesome. And it's like $5 on GOG, or you can buy it directly from him, from his website. What's it? Howard Warshaw, HowardScottWarshaw.com
And I mean,
or org.
For those of you that are listening now or listening in the future, like you gotta buy these books. You gotta listen to the stuff because this is what will keep this hobby going and support it. I mean, it gets attention. People see it. I mean, it gets noticed when these things sell out. As I said, it's the #1 new release on Amazon right now, and that gets noticed. And so then the people who are looking at these things want to do things to support this hobby. So please, go buy it, go read it, enjoy it.
And it's not expensive. I mean, the Kindle version.
The Kindle's $10, the paperback's $15.
Yeah, it's just pennies. And I think,
mean,
what if Chris? Ouch! God, freaking cat!
Scotch is more than 15.
My cat is climbing me like a tree. I'm on a stool. She had to jump for that. I don't know what her deal is. She has food, but she has a clean cat box. Oh,
that's trying to show love.
I know. She was sitting in front of me for like half the show. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask him, but I didn't know how to quite verbalize it. I'm thinking about it, and I don't even know if this happens to all of the programmers, but me as a programmer, when I program, I actually have to have the whole program sort of memorized.
Yeah.
For me to do stuff to it, so I'm kind of running it in my head as I'm adding to it or whatever. I wonder, as a therapist, if he has to do the same thing where he's got somebody, like a patient that comes in, he has to have like everything that's happened sort of at the ready to reference.
Well, that's why they ask you all the questions at the beginning, I suppose.
Right.
They gather information first, and then they output solutions based on that, or help you discover solutions on your own.
I wonder though, so one of the things that happens with programs is you evolve them over time, and so the input. So you kind of have this framework that you imagine. At least when I programmed, and it's been a while.
Yeah.
You have this framework that you imagine as you go through it, develops and refines and refines and refines until it becomes what it is in the end. One of the things that's actually funny, because I was a mechanical engineer, and one of the things I enjoyed about programming was if you screwed it up, you change a few lines, hit, recompile, and bam. If you screwed up a mechanical product, you had to go back to the machine shop. They're like, it's going to take 8 days. And I'm like, 8 days?
Yeah.
No.
I can compile on my computer and a tough program a minute and a half later. It's doing what I want.
Yeah.
So that was the ADHD side of things. Was programming was very pleasant. The other thing that was funny about what he said was one of the reasons I left engineering and went into became a surgeon was because I got tired of inventing stuff, designing stuff, telling people how to use it, handing it to them, and having these I just put it bluntly, entitled people do exactly what you told them not to do, break it, and say, this is shit. It's like, I can do what you do better. Why am I doing this part? So, anyhow, it was kind of funny because he's talking about the people doing every possible commentate. When you do programming, it's like people hitting the space bar at some random time.
Yeah.
Surgeons will sit there, you'll say, don't touch this, let it sit for 10 minutes. And they'll sit there with this little wire poking it, going, is it ready yet? I'm like, what part of don't touch it for 10 minutes did you... All right.
Well, I want to say to everybody, thanks for listening in. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. All of the holidays. Festivus for the rest of us.
Hanukkah.
Chanukah.
Chanukah.
Yep. Kwanzaa. All that stuff.
They still do Kwanzaa? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. People say it. I don't know if people do it. I assume somebody celebrates Kwanzaa.
Good. Brad Holman said, if you make something idiot-proof, they come back with a better idiot.
It's true. It's true. So, anyway, thanks for listening in. This has been Arcade Radio.
Yeah.
We can do an outro.
Is there going to be music?
I thought I'd play another song at the end. We could do some dancing.
You're going to beatbox?
Should we start it right now? Should we start? I did a new track. Let's do that right now. And then we'll dance to it at the end. Right?
Merry Christmas, Ryan.
Merry Christmas.
Metropolis.
Merry Christmas. Oh, thank you very much.
Chris.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this one's got sort of a New Order vibe to it. But
I'm in.
All right.
Slide that over to the side so I can actually see the
let's
outro.
Let's see how it goes. All right. Thanks for listening to Double R's. This has been Arcade Radio.
Check out our website, arcaderadio.com. That's RCADERADIO.com for all of our social media and swag links.
Call me comments at 612-548-GAME. For those of you that can't read the little letters on your phone, that's 4263.
Enjoying the show? Pick up some Arcade Radio swag over at Teespring. Or, consider, contributing to our Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/arcaderadio.
Nice. Hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening right now and if you haven't subscribed, naughty. Click on that notification bell so you will know when we are streaming live, especially when you're doing something and then you suddenly realize that the show is on and then you regret it. I don't know, whatever.
If you like what you're hearing, drop a 5-star review on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you consume our podcast. We need the support. We want the support. It's currently all the way up to date up until some show. I'm not going to quote Warren Davis to my guesses, but we are way beyond that, and our show notes are old.
Yeah, so that's going to be it for tonight's show from Arcade Radio. We hope you had a blast, and we'll see you on the next episode.
This year, right?
Yep.
Maybe next year?
Next year. Suzanne Ciani.
Off now.